Hi, I'm Tori Hauk, and this is Jessie Nugo, and we're here today talking with Kyle Randall. He's written us a piece that we're going to premiere on our debut concert on November 4th.
And thank you, Kyle, for being here. It's awesome to have you. We're really, really excited about this piece. And actually, Kyle we call him our enabler, because he's the reason that Tori and I are playing together now. He wrote a piece, Tarantella for Two Flutes, that we premiered in May 2015. May 2015. And after that point, Tori and I had so much fun playing together, we decided, hey, we should record this piece, Tarantella. And so in May 2014, along with Kyle and another Bay Area composer, Lucas Floyd, we did this really cool recording project, and we'll have the video from that this month, I think. And after that, we just kept playing together and asked Kyle to write another piece for us. So here we are. And Kyle, can you talk about the influences that are on this piece and just tell us about your piece?
Sure, yeah. So it's interesting. I often have kind of a couple different influences from different angles of the piece. There's usually kind of one right at the beginning, and then or several, that will come kind of as I'm writing it, as I realize what I'm thinking about. So for this one, I heard you both play a piece by Robert Muczynski in your first private concert, and was really inspired by that, and went home and immediately wrote the first few measures, I think, of the first movement. And I tend to write that way from the first movement all the way through to the last movement. But so I did that, and then kind of kept gathering material for the other things. And then as I was working through it, I realized that I was thinking a lot about winds and these kind of vague concepts of like the west and fog and rolling clouds and all kinds of things. So I started putting those into the titles of the movements and clarifying which was which and that kind of thing. And then even just, I think, yesterday, I discovered the names of a bunch of the Greek gods for the winds, and then put those in the appropriate places into the piece. So that's kind of where it came from.
So the title of the piece is Zephyr Suite. At least that's its title now. And each of those three movements, you have a really beautiful description, very much in the style of Debussy, with that written imagery, like on sea fog, on swift winds, and I'm pulling up the third, on rolling clouds. And so those are very evocative titles. But then you also recently added in these Greek wind names, or the gods of winds. And can you tell us about what those are?
Sure, yeah, so that's the most recent thing that I found. Well, I was kind of thinking of it as the Zephyr Suite. And Zephyr is a gentle wind from the west, so it's appropriate being in San Francisco. And the three movements are fog, swift winds, and rolling clouds. So it's kind of the sea fog of San Francisco, and then going out from there. So it's the Zephyr West idea, and then Zephyros is the Greek god of the west wind. So he's the last movement with the gentle rolling clouds. And then the other two are Boreas, which is the northern wind, and it's kind of like a winter stormy wind, but also in San Francisco has a lot of fog and cold and things. So it's an interesting kind of idiosyncratic one, I guess. And then Notos is the second one, which in Greece is often associated with kind of wet summer storms, or wet end of summer into fall. So it's this combination of autumn and storminess and kind of wetness and that kind of thing. And then Zephyros, of course, is the gentle rolling clouds one. But that one's kind of interesting because it's both this kind of gentle, fragrant color thing, colorful breeze maybe, but also the imagery of clouds was really strong to me in it. And some of its influence actually comes from, if anyone knows it, the Britain Rejoice in the Lamb. There's a movement about flowers with these really interesting moving thirds, which are featured in the movement a lot. So yeah, imagery of clouds, and then also a bit of like hints of storminess too. But yeah.
That's really cool how you can draw from this kind of Greek mythology, but also connecting it to San Francisco and bringing it back home in a sense for us.
That's fun.
Yeah. So you've already written a piece for two flutes before, And we're wondering if this experience was any different from that first experience you had writing for this instrumentation.
It was a lot of fun. With the first one, it was an interesting challenge to approach writing for two flutes. I hadn't done, I think, a duet for two solo instruments like that before. And one of the big challenges I kind of thought about a lot was, in lots of my writing, I like to have kind of a constant texture and filled in feel with lots of harmonic stuff going on and rhythmic things. So I didn't really want to just have two solo lines doing things. But the solution I found with the Tarantella, first piece, was to have the lines kind of trade off in ways where you don't really know which one is playing at which time, or like whether they switched and that kind of thing. And then you get these kind of rolling accompaniment gestures along with that to fill it in, which worked. I felt like it worked well with that. So then approaching this piece, I wanted to do a similar thing as far as the trading off and not being able to tell where you were, especially after getting the Baczynski, which does that really well. But I also wanted to make sure the Tarantella is really fast and has this kind of constant thing to it. So I decided, okay, well, maybe I'll make it a multi-movement piece so that I can have a bunch of different, I can explore a bunch of different feels. And then each one can be sort of a featured feeling or texture. But then each of them still has that kind of trade-off aspect to it. Mm. So the first one's really slow, and then you get kind of a Tarantella-like second movement. And then the last one is just kind of rolls on in an interesting way. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here, and we hope to see you at our concert on November 4th.